Welcome, 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 everyone, to season 6, episode 8 of Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pavel the Cat, and I've got my wonderful, very insightful, very knowledgeable co-host Evan Reynolds at REV. Evan, how you doing?
Hey, doing good. Hey, Lost Truckers calling in from California there tonight. Hey, guys, it's been great to be back. I love our intro. Thanks to Penny Billionaires for the exclusive music rights to what they have. We have a Jack show. We have lots going on, guys. So because of that, what we want to do is quickly update you on everything before we go right to our guest headliners. So remember, every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard, we are live right here. Go ahead, throw your comments on. Next week, our text line comes on live with us, so you can also text to make it easier for some, or you can jump in on YouTube channel. You can jump in on X and or over on Facebook as well. And some of you are also following over there on Twitch and Instagram. Now, guys, really important thing, really important. You guys ready? You guys ready? The season has not just begun, but it started off crazy. It's been a crazy year, Pavel, and I am so glad that I get to relax and chill as we introduce our guest headliner to start the night. All right, guys. So this has been a year in the making, and I am getting confused where our guest is calling from, because if he's not in Italy, he's in Japan, or he's somewhere else cruising all over the world, working somewhere, and it doesn't seem to be close, but he's calling in tomorrow morning. So you guys get that? He's calling in tomorrow morning is where he's actually calling from, because it's already morning time where he is. Guys, we're going to go and we're going to hear from, he's a former assistant coach in the NHL, played with working with several different teams. He is now, I believe, over in Japan, but he'll correct me if I'm wrong, because it could be Italy. Who knows? But let's go to our guest headliner, Perry Pearn.
Guest headliner, brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show.
Hello,
Good
Perry.
morning.
Welcome.
Good morning and good evening from us here at Edmonton. Where are you coming from us right now?
I'm in Shenyang Sport University in beautiful China.
Oh, wow.
So what time is it? Just for everyone listening right now, what time is it right now for you in the morning?
It's 9 a.m.
9. There you go, Kyle. You think it's late that you're dealing with 9 p.m.? Well, he's 9 a.m.
So, Perry, we're going to get into the NHL coaching and all that comes with it. But we first wanted to know kind of, what are you up to these days? What have you been getting up to? And where kind of is your passion lying for hockey?
Well, I'm coaching the China's men's national team. And of course, that's why I'm here. We've been running a camp since early October. We're preparing to play in the I believe the IIHF call it the Asian Cup in early November, which will be in Kazakhstan, and will involve Japan, Korea, Kazakhstan, and ourselves.
So question. So I thought it was Japan. Were you in Japan last year?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, interesting finish there.
Okay, so maybe just kind of tell us how. I mean, you're not a spring chicken anymore at age 25 or 35, and you are still coaching, and you're doing it so far on the other side of the planet from where you're from. Literally, maybe just tell everyone kind of what got you to go over to the other side, over to China, to do this.
Well, I kind of fell into it. It actually happened with Japan. A good friend of mine who I coached and then coached with, Rick Carrier, was working with the Japanese national team and had brought them to Edmonton for a summer camp. And he had asked me to help out. So I did a little bit of work with them in the summertime. And then it turned out that things kind of changed quickly for Rick. He had a very good offer in Canada to kind of get back into teaching at Vimy Academy in Edmonton. And so I I wound up getting the call to see if I'd be interested in coaching Japan. And so that's how the Japan thing started. And then as it ended, I got a call from Italy to go to the World Championships with them last spring. That's the Division 1A Championships. And then out of the Italy experience, the people who had been coaching China last year, who are North Americans, people that I know, kind of reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in taking over in China. And so I thought, why not? I had the opportunity to kind of choose some of the people that I work with here. We have a staff of 4 North Americans, and I think soon to be 5. We need to add a goalie coach. So, you're not kind of all by yourself, and it's, again, like been an experience. And I wouldn't be doing it if it was like full-time all year. I get a few breaks where I get back to Edmonton and, get to watch a few Oiler games and, live a normal life, and then back at it and do this. So, it's been different. Never planned to do it, but it kind of fell into my lap.
Well, you have quite an extensive resume, not only within the NHL, but seemingly across the world of hockey. And, you've coached as an assistant for some major organizations like the Montreal Canadiens, the Winnipeg Jets, the New York Rangers. These are some big names. But we all know that being a coach is a full-time job, whether you're assistant, head coach, whatever it may be. What do you do to prepare yourself and your team and your support staff to get the players ready for each game?
Well, I think the biggest part of all of that is, to be organized and, have a good plan laid out, heading into anything that you do. The coaches I worked with, the head coaches I worked with in the NHL, were very organized. We're, had things laid out fairly well in front of them. And then, I think the other thing that's really important is the ability to adapt as, the road changes during the course of the season. You think it might go one way, and then all of a sudden, it goes the other way, whether it be an injury or, you don't do as well as you hoped you would be doing. And, you have to be prepared to make those adjustments really, really quickly.
So with all the teams, so like right now, you'll notice, and because 80% of the people always want to hear NHL, so we always throw a little bit of NHL in for anyone, no matter what we're talking about. Right now, you got teams like the Jets and the Flames who have started off well. You got teams like, Vancouver, or even the Oilers, or a couple other teams that aren't doing well to start. So as a coach, you've been behind that bench. Say you had many years with the Sens. You have those games when you're in a rut. The players are better. What do you do? The average fan just thinks that, well, they're professional, they're fine, they don't need anything other than you just coming with the plan. What have you done in the past when you got guys that they're just in a rut and they just can't? They're gripping their stick, they're not executing. What can you do?
Well, I think the most important thing is to shut the outside noise out, because a good example would have been the Oilers last year. There was a lot of noise around that start, and, we all know where it finished. So I think, in that case, they made the coaching change. Sometimes, that's necessary to shake the players back into perspective. But as a coach myself, I'm not real, I don't really like that one very much. But I think it's shutting out the noise, and if you know what you're doing is the right thing, is keep on that path, and I think be confident that the group you have is going to come around. I would say, you look at the Oilers right now, 2-5, that they're going to come around, and the players know that too. It's a long season in the NHL. And so I think the other thing is probably being patient. And then, you do a little bit of tinkering maybe to spark individual players. And I think the most important thing, though, for everybody, including the management and the organization, the ownership, right down to the coaches, is that nobody panics. The minute you panic, I think you really get off track.
Well, that's some pretty insightful stuff. And, we thank everyone who's tuning in right now. Remember to like and share our video. We have people tuning in, including Lost Trucker, who kind of wanted to know, and I'm also curious about this. What do you think the biggest difference is in Asia with the game of hockey? We know some of the differences in the KHL with European League, with the ice being a little bit bigger. Are there any differences, or do they try to kind of imitate what the North American game is like?
Well, I think China is probably completely different from everywhere because, they really are kind of shut out from the world. I don't think very many of the players that I'm coaching here right now watch much NHL hockey, and so I don't think, have an appreciation for, the highest level of the game, and so what they know is what they're doing in China, and hockey isn't front and center here. There's other sports that are way more important to them because of their ability to win medals in the Olympics. So I think the players really lack hockey sense. I think you get a lot of hockey sense from, as a kid, you can get it from watching TV, and you go out and you try something that you saw, Draisaitl or McDavid do, and you carry that into your practices once in a while, and so you grow a little bit that way. And then the other thing here is they don't play very many games. They practice lots, and then they have kind of like a tournament schedule for the year for their top players, and it's just not enough games. And so one of our goals this year is to try and get the national team to play more games, and we're coming to Toronto in January for the whole month, and we've right now got 6 games booked against U Sport teams, and then 5 of the 6 are U Sport, and 1 is against Division III U.S. college team that's going to come up to Canada and play us. And those games will be really, really important for us to kind of help give those players, a little bit more sense of, the game, and I think the little details of the game that, Canadians are so good at, and, have kind of, helped the world get much better at.
So the ice out there, are you the same measurements? Is it international, or is it North American size?
No, it's international. So the rink we're training on here at the university is, Olympic size. And to me, I haven't measured it, but I think it might be a little bit Olympic oversized even. But you play on a variety of rinks now. It changes from place to place. It was interesting the year I coached in the KHL. We actually tried to measure rinks so that we had a better idea, because we'd go from the full Olympic size rink to a couple of rinks that were even slightly smaller than the normal
Wow.
NHL rink. So again, it does make a difference in terms of the game. So I think we were in Harbin before we came to Shenang, and the rink there, we watched the national championship tournament. The rink there, I don't think is as big as the one that we're on here at the university. So that's the rink we're going to play on in February. One of the big events this year for China hockey is the Asian Winter Games, which are basically a mini Olympics for the Asian countries.
So, hey, a quick question before Pavel asks his next one here. This has just always been a question dating back many, this probably goes back to, I recall back around 2010. In Edmonton, there used to be, and it was named after you, it was called the Perry Pearn 3-on-3. Was that, was that what it was called? And did you run some guys through something? What was that?
Well, that's something we've been actually doing. We're still doing. It's this past summer was the 34th year. It's basically, I would describe it as a conditioning camp. We do built around a 3-on-3 half ice game that we play, and so we've done like quite a bit of work on that for a long time, and we've had a big number of NHL players who have gone through it because we have a pro section to the camp that runs the last 2 weeks of August. And like I said, we've been doing it for 34 years. So it goes back to guys like Jay Bomeister, who started in it as a peewee and worked his way through until he was in major junior, and then back as a pro until his kids got a little bit older and they had to get to school.
Excellent. Well, we love on the show to talk prospects, especially Evan. He does his Rev Top 15. He's got to get into it. And we know that there's quite a few around the world that sometimes go unnoticed, especially coming from all over the world. The game of hockey is trying to be inclusive, trying to draw new faces to the game. Of course, the most recent famous player, Andong Song, who was picked by the Islanders as 172nd in the 2015 draft. He's Chinese born. Now, I know it's not all Chinese players, but is there a few players or one or two people we should be keeping an eye out in the next few years that could make an impact, even at the KHL level, or someone that you say, you know what, this guy has wheels or talent or high IQ that you should be keeping an eye on it? Or is it Andong Song, who plays for the Niagara Ice Dogs, and you've maybe seen him play?
Well, it's interesting because China just made a big shift in terms of policy. I think for many, many years, the rule was there, and I think they kind of looked the other way when they were preparing for the Winter Olympics in Beijing. They have a number of double passported players that played in the Beijing Olympics, and most of those players are Canadian. A couple of them were American, and that's the kind of the heart of the team that plays in the KHL, called Kunlun. So a year ago, the Chinese informed those players that unless they renounce their passports with whatever other country they're from, and just became Chinese, they would no longer play for the national team. So now everybody that's playing on the national team, is born, raised Chinese. So very difficult to recruit anybody from Canada or the United States, because they'd have to renounce their U.S. or Canadian citizenship, which is, I think, a bit of a reach for most people. I think, when you think about that, that's a little bit of a concern, given the difference in lifestyle in China versus North America.
So when you went over there, does the team find a place and put you up? Do they just give you an allowance and you got to figure out where you get situated? How does that work for you?
No, that's one of the reasons I took the job, is you're pretty well taken care of. Right now we're staying in what they would call a residence here at Shenang University, and it's like a hotel, a very decent hotel, and meals are provided, every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. The players are staying, and here we're all in one spot. When we got to Harbin to start the trip, there was three of us. one of my assistant coaches and our strength and conditioning coach. And, we had a leader from the Chinese Ice Hockey Federation who was with us all the time, like every night took us out to dinner to a different place. Lunch was provided. If we're at the rink, he ordered food, brought it in. So really well taken care of that way. The only time we would spend any money is, if we wanted to get off campus and, find someplace to go and probably we would choose to go someplace that's a little bit more Western. So, we change up a little bit from Chinese food. And last night, that's exactly what we did. We went to a place called the Blue Frog, and I think everybody had a hamburger and some chips and a couple of beers. So,
was that frog beef or cow beef?
Yeah, I think it was cow beef. It did taste like, I'm pretty sure.
The text that came in, the question for you was, do you miss steaks?
Well, yes, and we've been, since we've been here, so like it's closing in on a month. Like we've been out 3 times, twice where we had steaks, and last night we could have had a steak, but everybody chose something a little bit different last night.
Well, it's been great to have you on the show. We're just going to finish up here with our last few questions, and we can't not talk about the NHL. So before Evan asks his final question and we let you go, I kind of wanted to know your thoughts about the NHL season so far. Are you still following it, or are there any players or storylines that you're kind of keeping up to it? Is it your Jets that you coached, or is it the Rangers and the Shesterkin, negotiations, or is it something completely different that fans should be paying attention to?
Well, I think I think all those things are pretty interesting, but I think what's really interesting is the start that some of the teams that were expected to do very well this year have, like Nashville, Edmonton. I think you've mentioned some of the other ones. It looked like Colorado was off to a bit of a shaky start. So even Florida. I think that's interesting, and I think how things unfold there for those teams will be something for fans to watch. But I think the great thing about the National Hockey League now is it's as competitive or more competitive than it's ever been, and so for fans that's great. And we're able to connect a little bit. So yesterday when we were getting ready for practice in the morning, the NHL now has a channel that kind of jumped. Yeah, I think all 32 teams were playing.
Yeah.
So it was jumping from game to game, and we were sitting, as we were having coaching meetings and doing stuff in the room, watching the highlights from each game. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to go to the press box in Edmonton when I'm in Edmonton, and so very interested in that game. And then one of our team leaders came in and had a question that was quite confusing right when overtime was on. So I got done asking questions and I looked up at the other coaches. I said, so what happened at overtime? And they told me about, how it ended. So I was kind of looking forward to Edmonton winning that one and, kind of getting closer to be back on track.
All right. So the one question that I do have, just to be our final one, then we're going to let you go. Thank you so much for taking the time out, guys. Just so you guys know, this is Perry Pearn. He's right now over in China coaching the team, getting them all ready so they can be Olympic bound. Also a former assistant coach. I believe you spent 1 year with the Medicine Hat Tigers also.
Yes, I did.
Wouldn't you like to be with them right now when they have Gavin McKenna? That would be amazing.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. So not this fall, but the fall before, I went down with Rick Carrier. I still get along very well with the ownership there, and I've stayed in touch over the years. I coached with Willie Desjardins, and so chance to catch up with him. So I went and watched their training camp So that was with all their young kids. And man, they've got a lot of talented young guys. Like the player you're talking about is a great player, but they've got a set of twins there that are going to be, dynamite in the Western Hockey League. They have some other young players that look really, really good. I'm thinking that in the next, year or two here, they're going to be one of the dominating forces in the Western Hockey League. So, it's real interesting where they are, and they have a beautiful arena there now. Like, absolutely, like it's a mini NHL rink.
And I know that they're up for Memorial Cup next year too, right? Which will be the draft year for McKenna right now. Well, and it's just an amazing, like even exceptional talent. They never did that for the WHL, and now you got Landon DuPont, 15 years old, right down in Everett. He's got 10 games in and 13 points. And we were talking with Michael Devellano, who's the U.S. head scout, and just saying the kid's a stud. Yeah,
well, that's everything. I've never seen him, but everything I've heard about him was exactly that. Like I work with a lot of the guys who coached in the Academy League, and I think he was playing in Calgary at the Edge, and they just said he was absolutely dominating in the games that he played there.
Wow. Okay, here's the last question. I didn't get that. Sorry, I'm adding an extra one in here, because we may not get a chance. It took us a year to get you on. So here's the question. Right now in the NHL, you've gone before the analytics were analytics. You still did all the off ice. You still watch. You did a lot of eye tests. You just knew as coaches in the coaches fraternity what you're looking for, what you're watching. Now, talking to all the scouts when they're younger, the analytics are not the same, right? There's a big difference. You're looking for character. You're looking for a lot of these other, even off-ice things, because on ice it's fairly simple to see it visually. Now, when you were working specifically, looking into the NHL, because there's two different pieces here. So my question is, in the NHL, when you were coaching still, as an assistant coach, did analytics matter much to you and what you were seeing and how you were working with the guys? And right now in China, do analytics matter, or is this basically about the fundamentals of hockey and you just stick to that?
Well, let me first address the China part. Like, analytics don't mean anything here. I think the only analytic thing that I think is important for us is making sure that we do a really good job of trying to develop our special teams, because even going back to my NHL days, I asked the analytics guy that we work with in Vancouver, I said, what's the single most important analytical thing? And he told me something that I already knew, I'd known for years, is like, if you can win the special teams game, it doesn't matter whether you're a good team or a bad team. The nights that you win the special teams game, you're going to be, anywhere from 75 to 95% successful. So, for China, that's a pretty simple, straightforward thing. I think in the NHL, when you start to look at individual player analytics, I think there's some value in that, and certainly understanding it becomes really important. But I'll look at the example of Jason Strudwick with the New York Rangers. Like, analytically, if you look at Struds, he wasn't front and center, and there's lots of reasons analytics to say that you wouldn't use him, but when he left the Rangers, we weren't nearly as good a team. So we brought him back one of my years in New York from Europe, because he didn't have an NHL contract, and he played the last 12 or 13 games of the season, or 14 or 15, whatever it was. We needed to win a lot of those to get in the playoffs, and then we won all of those games. Struds was a contributor, but then he's in the playoffs. He couldn't play because of having played in Europe during the season. So he stayed all through the playoffs. And I think we won a couple of rounds, and skated every day with the young guys. And he was the hardest working guy and set the tone for everybody. And you can't measure that kind of presence and what that kind of thing brings, to a hockey team. So, yeah, I think you have to look at getting the best players that fit your situation, but you can't dismiss character and some other things that you simply can't measure with analytics.
That's some pretty insightful things. So we appreciate it, Perry. This has been very engaging, and we have a pretty lively chat coming in. One of the questions that I think came in earlier from Hansi, who's a Toronto fan, is what the vending machines are like over there in China.
Well, actually, they're fairly similar. Some of the things in them aren't as familiar, but certainly like drinks are in the vending machines, and probably they're a little less prevalent than they would be in North America. But there's a little convenience store here at the university that we go to on a pretty regular basis, and we laugh at the prices of things. Like we went over the other night and bought these. We were looking for smaller envelopes, but so they didn't have smaller. We bought these big envelopes, and I think they were 3 or 4 cents each, and so there's some things like that you just kind of laugh at how cheap they are, and then there's other things that are just as expensive or more expensive than they are in North America. So it's interesting to kind of see how things work here.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Perry, for taking a half an hour so early in the morning. I guess this isn't early compared to some of the times that you got to get up in the morning with everyone.
Yeah, I was able to sleep in today. We've been pretty much up every day at 6 a.m. and heading to the rink, to get ready for morning practices.
I feel like he's like Howie Draper, who's a former head coach in the women's here in Edmonton, the Pandas, and with one of the former, I think the New York team for the women's EWHL. He had a board ready to go at 6 a.m. Perry wrote out, okay, I've got Evan on this side with questions. I've got Pavel on this side. He's going to ask me this and that, in his game plan. And he's like, I'm ready. He's on the bike. He's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, I know Howie very well, and I'm sure he would be well prepared.
We're saying that you're even more prepared than Howie. So that's why we're saying you brought your A game. So we appreciate you. Is there anywhere you want people to follow you? Are you on Twitter /X or
you say no to followers?
And that's fine too.
No, I actually, don't do much relative to social media. I think, the one thing, if you've got kids that are looking to be in the best shape possible heading into the season, take a look at the 3-on-3 stuff that we have on the internet and get enrolled next summer.
Will do. We'll make sure that we get it up, and I'll actually put the information up on our former guests up on our site there for you. Perry, thanks so much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you on. All the best in the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll get to touch base sometime down the road again.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me, and best of luck with the rest of the season for you guys as well.
Thank you, Perry. All the best. Cheers.
Okay. Yeah,
Guest headliner, brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show.
Awesome. That was great, man. Man, I couldn't imagine. You know what caught me off guard? He talked about the KHL. I thought they were all supposed to be measurement on those rinks exactly the same. Obviously, they're not.
It's definitely interesting. You always learn something a little bit about the game around the world and how it just differentiates just that little amount in those subtle ways. But we do appreciate Perry's insight. It's been great. We've also had a very lively group chat going on. There's been a bit of a back and forth between
go ahead and
Rangers and Penguins fans. So we'll get into that in just a bit. We have a lot to cover. Where did you want to start at?
Okay, let's do really quick. I'm going to do the Central Division predictions. You're going to do the Pacific predictions, and then we'll ask one question or one team that maybe throws us a bit. And guys, if you're still following, we're going to throw the predictions out in the Western Conference. If you got questions, we'll interact with you live here. We have a lot of other information to get into, but definitely we haven't talked too much NHL, and I know you obviously so you guys are lively right now, going back and forth. So why don't we go ahead? I'll let you go ahead and get started. I'll put it up here for you. Talk to us about your Pacific, how you see it rolling out the regular season.
Now, I know we're a little bit behind given that the season's already 2 weeks in, so there's quite a bit. But the way I went with it.
What you're saying is you were honest.
I was honest. So I see Vancouver, and this has provided health. When you look at the roster top to bottom and health, of course, injuries happen. We know about the Demko situation and how he's going to have to work through it. I see Vancouver being that team. They've struggled out of the gate a little bit, but they've really put it together. And when you watch that game they played last Saturday versus the Flyers, that was a complete game. They beat them 3-0. Tyler Myers plays his 1,000th game. That team can really compete. You know, they added some big pieces. I know they lost Zadorov and Lindholm, but they added some good pieces. DeBrus can score. He's a playoff performer. Next, I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights. People are writing these guys off. And you know what? They're still competitive. Mark Stone had an interview this offseason and said, everyone's writing off the Vegas Golden Knights. You know, they just won the Stanley Cup 2 years ago, Evan. They're still competitive. They can still do some damage. They still have Jack Eichel, who is hungry and wants more. And he's probably one of the most underrated centers in the league in the sense that people don't talk about him enough the way they do about Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. Next, you have Edmonton. For all their flaws, they did take a little bit of a step back with some of the pieces they lost on their back end, but Edmonton's still competitive. And when you have those two driving horses, McDavid and Draisaitl, you're going hard. Next, you got LA Kings. I like what Jim Hiller has done with that team. Now that Ottawa game versus them, for me, exciting. 8-7, nothing but goals. What is goaltending, right? But that team can still perform, and they've got some grit in comparison. My worry is in the playoffs. What are you going to do? Seattle, they are better than their sum of their parts. They are a team unit. There's not one specific thing. Now, granted, there are some big names on there, but Vince Dunn is out right now. But Jordan Eberle, that game-winning goal against Calgary to give Calgary their first loss, Seattle's going to bring it, you know. Calgary, I think people are writing off Calgary. They've started hot, but I also didn't think they're as bad as people make them out to be. I think they have some good pieces there. Keep an eye on the contract negotiation with Rasmus Anderson because he's going to be a hot commodity by the trade deadline if he's not traded. And keep an eye on Jonathan Huberdeau, who's still right now a point-per-game guy. So he's really bringing it. And Ryan Huska has really gotten that team going. In seventh place, Anaheim. I love their orange jerseys. They are sick looking. Those orange, they stand out beautifully. They have some players that have played for a bit. Lucas Dockstall looks like he's ready to be that number one, especially since Gibson's out. And of course, San Jose, the moment they lost Celebrini, they did not look good. They looked like they were missing like Chicago last year with Bedard. I like what Toffoli has done for that top line and has really performed, but really there's not much else back there. You know, you're looking at CC who's really there, but yeah, and Darling says Kraken and Calgary are interchangeable. I agree. And I can honestly say that Kraken and Calgary can both potentially make the wild card spot. That's how well it is. Now, it's a long season. There's a lot going on. But keep an eye on that Pospisil kid, Martin Pospisil, and one of my favorite, Hunter Brzgalevich. I think it's Brzgalevich. I can't pronounce it. I'm sounding like Evan. The defenseman that came over in that trade recently.
Yeah,
keep an eye on him because he's going to have – I don't think Calgary's as bad as people make him out to be. To say that they're going to be worse than San Jose, I'm sorry. San Jose is going to be bottom 5 again. I'm sorry. But your thoughts, Evan?
Yeah, so I'm obviously not going to cover them all like Pavel has, guys. I'm just kind of examining and looking at them. I see things quite different, but I am kind of shocked. Now, I can understand because we would have given this before the season started. Now that you know that the Canucks have started a little rough and that everything with Thatcher, there's nothing. I think this could be either he's getting 20, 30 games a year for the next, but he cannot be a full-time. I just don't think that this injury he's going to be able to. I hope I'm wrong. I am shocked that you actually have the Vegas Golden Knights in number 2 there. But I get it. The Golden Jack. as when he first went over there, a lot of people were doubting, including you. A lot of people were doubting about Jack Eichel being as good. He's 11th right now overall, but he's tied for 7th with 11 points in his 7 games already this year. By the way, folks, if you haven't yet, go check out on our website, twoguysinhockeytalk.com. In there, you can follow all of our guests, including Perry Pearn, who was just on, former assistant head coach for, I believe, he has over 15 years, most of them with Ottawa, but he's been with quite a few teams. We will have all his information up, as well as other former guys in the NHL, Rossiter and Schremp. We've got a whole bunch of the women who have made it big in the game. We've got a lot of guys that have, even like guys like Glenn Ringdahl, who is the former assistant general manager of the Vancouver Canucks. Some great interviews, and we link the podcast for you. But
now,
coming back, articles. We got a whole bunch of new people writing articles. Golden Jack's in there, so make sure that you take a look coming back to it. So, but looking, bud, I'm looking at what you got going on there, and honestly, as I'm looking, I do not see a lot of difference other than I probably would switch out Edmonton and Vancouver. I would switch it around based on the beginning of the year. Now that I'm looking, I'm sitting going, is Vegas going to take it?
Okay, that's true. That's true. Now, before you get to the Central quickly, and Darlin mentions you could perhaps expect a guy like Panarin, Crosby, McKinnon, McDavid, and to keep that pace up, Eichel, I think people expect him to cool down. I told you before you get to the Central, I have to make an apology to a fan base. I have to apologize to the Washington Capitals. I was wrong to put you at the bottom of my prediction start list. Now, I know it's still early, but you have proven me wrong. They heard our podcast. Alexander Ovechkin, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Sonny Milano, and that entire team said, you know what, Pavel? No, you are wrong. We are not going to be worse than Columbus and the Flyers. And they have come out flying. They look fast. They look sharp. They are playing on all 4 cylinders, Evan. So I wanted to apologize to that fan base for being wrong because they have proven me wrong.
You heard about his feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he scored a goal yet, but they've really come up and really made it competitive. And I honestly may have to. I mean, it's predictions. We all get things wrong, but the Flyers have really disappointed me. They have really fallen off a cliff. And I'm sorry if Jamie's tuning in, but Washington, my apologies. I will make sure to try to get out to another game out in Washington.
Okay, let me run through mine. I won't take as much time as Pavel. We have a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of things we're not going to get to. So we're going to prioritize some of our stuff as stuff that's timely and relevant to today, because other things, folks, we'll just move it back a week if we can. So I'm going to give you this is how I saw it a week and a half ago, essentially, when I was looking at the schedule and we were doing this. I have Dallas, and right away, just last season, who they got coming back, regardless of injuries. I see Dallas being top. And in fact, I see them winning the Western Conference with the best record. I mean, these guys, I know we're talking Edmonton, but when they step back in their defense, I was a little worried over the offseason. But Dallas, strong right through there. With Maverick Bourque now playing up from last year, one of the top players. Now with him playing up there, I mean, their depth is amazing. Winnipeg, I always felt with Connor Hellebuck. And they have such good depth up front, and they do have stars. It's just a matter, can they just keep that momentum going? For a place that everyone says no one wants to go to, they're like the Edmonton of the 2000, early 2000s, where they say nobody wants to go there. I got to say that, honestly, the Winnipeg Jets, I see a good season. I'm just worried about them come playoff. That's always an issue that I'm dealing with. So, hey, bud, you got to put my stuff back up so I can see. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Let me go back up. So, Colorado, I know they started off slow, but they've been so short, a man short with so many guys hurt and people down. They're still struggling through. If they can come out, in another 2 weeks, they can still come out at 500. I see them going on like some 8 and 10 game win streaks moving forward. They just got to, even with a goalie that is not going to be world class. But I do think at trade deadline, I'm waiting this year for a goalie to come in there at trade deadline. I think Utah is ready. I think they're primed for the Utah Hockey Club, HC. And then St. Louis Blues, I think that they're kind of hindering. It's going to be a battle between the two of them. But folks, I did not think this stuff in Nashville, this is the one that I'm going to go off the charts. I don't think, not because of what you saw. I already had that in my book. If I could show you in my notes on my phone, I had this 2 weeks ago. I did not think they're going to gel well. And I'm a little concerned about that contract for Saros. The Minnesota Wild.
Stamkos.
Well, I know, but you're moving to a new team. He spent his whole career with.
You said Saros. Do you mean Saros or Stamkos?
No, I was worried about Saros' contract last year, right?
Oh, yes.
For their goalie. Yeah. Oh, I got what you said. You all the S's, man. Saros, Stamkos. What's it called? Jonathan Sarsasho. No, I'm making an S, dude. I was making fun of it. Okay. And then, of course, the Blackhawks on the end. And that's just because if you watch last night's game with Vlasic even, you can see he's just letting goal in after goal. They're going through a lot of learning. And I think they're going to be exciting and stuff, but that's kind of where I have it. So I don't know if you have any a quick thought or two off what I threw up there, but go ahead.
I would agree. I think I was surprised at the start for Colorado and Nashville for sure. The one question I have is Minnesota. I don't think they're as bad as people make it out to be. They didn't make the playoffs last year, but they weren't that far out. St. Louis is an intriguing one because, you always wonder what Doug Armstrong's up to after those offers. But I would agree. I think Dallas last year they were my pick for the Stanley Cup. That's how good I think they are. And I think with their guys now signing Ottinger to long-term, you got Wyatt Johnson there. You got Heiskanen there. Rupe Hintz, who's a very underrated center. I like it. I think it's a pretty good thing. I would just say Minnesota and maybe St. Louis is the only one. I don't want to say switch, but like those two teams, like what to expect, right? It's kind of hard to gauge. But good read. You guys can let us know. Darling says, I personally, the way I see Rangers and Dallas in theory are really the teams to beat. I agree. The thing with the Dallas is that you really have to be mindful of Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. Those contracts are the kind of the albatross there. But the Rangers, we'll see what happens with Shesterkin, but that team is going to have to pay, especially since Lafreniere is up next year as well. All right, Evan, we got lots more to cover. Where did you want to go next?
Okay, well, I'm not going to take as much time on my piece, but we haven't got to the Revs top 15 NHL prospects, so the early edition guys. I'm going to give you fast my top 15, my top 5 in my Revs top 15. I'm going to just tell you the 5, and I'm going to type in on 2 minutes on the 2 top guys that I see for this year. So let me give to you my Revs top 15.
Revs top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, so going into the top 15, basically James Higgins has been the center. He's been favored all the way along. And then there was a lot of people going into this year just saying, well, there's one, and then there's 2 or 3 that could be sitting at 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then from 5th to 7th, and they kind of group them in pieces. Let me just say, now I did wait for about 5 games before I really threw it out there, and I have slightly changed, and this is going to change throughout the year. Let me tell you how my Revs top 15 works. It's the players that I see that are going to be drafted in this next coming June in 2025 who are eligible, and how I see them having the best careers, not the best coming in their first year, who will end with the top careers. You can go to my Revs top 15 on our website, twoguysandhockeytalk.com, to see past draft years. So James Higgins, I still have at number 1 going into this fall. James Higgins is 5'10", 106, so he's about 170 pounds right now. He is a dynamic playmaker, guys. If you have not saw him, his skating is incredible. Great speed, acceleration, agility. He makes people look silly sometimes, and it's so simple for him. So you take his high-end puck skills and his vision with his skating ability, and you have someone who's consistently a danger. Now, right now, he is the replacement for Will Smith, who has moved up with the San Jose Sharks at Boston College as their top center. So this will be a big year. Now, last year in the under-18 championship, he set a tournament record for 22 points when they earned silver. Right now this year, he's got 3 games in. He's got a goal and 4 assists for 5 points. But I am going to say the race right now is going to be a 2-way race, because I do believe right behind him, he was not favored. He was between 4 and 8, 4 and 7. Was Michael Misa, exceptionally draft status, had an okay year last year. He is in Ontario with the Saginaw team, who actually won the Memorial Cup. So Michael is 6 feet, 174 in the center. Looking solely at his skill set, it's a safe bet his scoring is going to take a jump. If he does well, so his scoring, if he continues to do well with his scoring of what we're seeing. So right now, 10 games, 14 goals, 7 assists for 21 points already this year to start. And he is not slowing down. He's looking dominant, and he did not have to be the dominant player on that team. So right now, the thing you got to know about him is his skating, huge, his size. So let's say he comes in, he's going to be like 6'2" potentially player, going to be coming in around 180 probably by draft time. But this guy's playmaking, vision ability, the ability to execute in tight spots. And by the way, he will block shots. I call him a franchise player like Jack Eichel. That's the type of player I think you're having. So those are the top 2 guys. Now, in my 3rd, 4th, and 5th, I have Porter Morton. I'll talk to him about next week, 6'3", 170 pounds. He is just lighting it up as well. And then Roger McQueen out of Brandon, 6'5" guy, center, 190 pounds. And then Anton Frundell, kind of like Anton Lundell out of the Florida a couple seasons ago, 6 feet, 196. So those are the 3 guys that specifically the 5 guys. But James Higgins and Michael Misa, you know what? I hear that it's actually Michael Misa is going to have to do something incredible to get up there. Let's just say, actually, I believe James Higgins is going to have to overperform if he wants to be drafted first overall. I don't normally say that, but this year, this is a little bit on gut. So anyway, that is my Revs Top 15.
Revs Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
All right, let's cover some NHL news again, bud.
All righty. So there was a reverse hit that OEL caused recently. I believe it was against the Tampa Bay game, and he got a $5,000 hit, even though it was not a penalty.
You didn't say fine. You called it a $5,000 hit, not a $5,000 fine, and it is. That hit was $5,000.
That's what it is. But I wanted to know your thoughts because it sets a precedent. Because I've seen that hit before, and players haven't gotten I've seen Pettersson do that hit in the playoffs versus the Oilers last season. Not much. I mean, I think it was called, but he wasn't fined. So where do you make on the reffing? Because I've seen some, as always, questionable reffing this year. And in terms of what they're trying to do, I get it's in the CBA. I get that you want to be cautious about safety of players, but OEL is not a very vicious player. He's not that kind of player, because we're going to get into a player that does throw some big hits. But your thoughts on the fine?
So I actually don't agree with the fine. I think that it's wrong. Maybe if you wanted to give him a penalty, but I don't even think that. So the reverse hit, I have no problem. It's the only thing you have to protect yourself these days. And guys should not be able to come in and just do whatever and have to say, oh, you better not reverse hit me. I'm allowed to hit you. It's like, what kind of game are we playing? Are we playing grass hockey? Kind of come on. This is ridiculous. Allow these guys. These guys need to be warned. You want to come in and lay me out? Well, you might be the one being laid out. Come on. This is what keeps the toughness in the game. Keep doing that, and you're going to get more sticks and more Alex Pietrangelo,
Pietrangelo slash.
My mouth can't speak as fast as my brain's thinking. Slashing and hacking, and people are going to get hurt more often. So I love the hit. I shouldn't have been penalized by OEL. I thought he did a good job on the play.
Yeah, they had a bit of a stinker versus Columbus, but good for Columbus for coming out. And
somebody else, former Jet, also had an issue this week. People are upset about. For which one?
So I was getting into that. So Jacob Trouba, they played the Montreal Canadiens, and there was a hit on Justin Barron, their defenseman there. And of course, Mike Matheson got into it. I don't think there was a fine or anything. Of course, as always, it can't be an NHL season right now without a big questionable Trouba hit. Your thoughts on him kind of just going in? It looked like a clean hit. Although, again, it's not the first time Trouba's been part of a questionable hit. So your thoughts?
I think you remember Wilson in Washington. I think this is what's happened. So anytime Wilson does something, everyone just thinks he's in the wrong. And so because Trouba and Darling brings up, he always bridges that line like Wilson, right? Did Tom Wilson. And so you're automatically going to go after him. I actually felt that this was a legal hit on this go around. And I've been very vocal, and you've been very vocal about Trouba on this show. With some of
there was a few questions that a few hits in the past that I was like, that should have not.
Because he rides the line, it's either legal or it's illegal. The ref should not look at the player, look at the pass, and then make a determination, because that's too biased. I think you got to look at the play in the action that's on the ice and call it one way or the other. I
also don't like it when people slow down video, because it can make anything seem more egregious or less egregious. You know what I mean? Like, you slow down a video, of course something looks far worse, but in the moment, and I get it, it's a fast-paced game, so much is happening, so much on the ice you have to pay attention to. But what's the number one rule that parents teach all kids when they're playing hockey, Evan? Keep your head up. Keep your head up. Okay? Turn your back. Turn your back, especially if you see Trouba.
Turn your back, because on the back of your jersey it says stop to the other guy.
Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. Keep your head up, right? We say keep your stick on the ice. Well, that's only if you keep your head up so that you can do it there. It's Sports Plus we had on with their special stuff. Hey, before you go to the next piece, can I throw a picture up? I just want to take a moment. Guys, I'm showing you Chicago Stadium, last game. Chicago Stadium. You have the generational player, Connor Bedard. You got a lot of – and Hall is exciting this year already. I mean, there's a lot of – Foligno is doing wonderful. Sam Dickinson. You guys got a team. These are all seats that have been paid for, but they're sitting there. What's going on? Come on, Chicago. Step it up. You guys need to get in there. If I was there, I'd be at every one of those games. It's worth the price of admission for entertainment. Anyway, that was a rant. I could have put that under rant of the week, of the night.
That's fair. You guys can let us know your thoughts. I mean, I think in general, with Utah being as successful as it has been, I think revenue is going to go up in the NHL, and I could see a big bump in the in the salary cap, right?
Exactly.
And Darlene doesn't know what the prices are. I wouldn't know either. It's hard to say. Each place is different.
Well, so generally speaking, I've checked out the prices. They range between about $50 up to $350. So depending where you are.
So you wanted to talk about the fact that it's hard to find players if you're a Stanley Cup contender and you're trading away all your draft picks or picks in the regular round, and you're trying to find these diamond in the rough players, right? And I know that you've been talking with some people in the background, and some rumblings. Some people have been kind of connecting with you. We don't know how much validity it is, but do you want to talk a little bit about the Oilers and kind of what their goal is and what Stan Bowman's kind of focused on right now?
Oh yes, we're talking about the Oilers. So this was brought to my attention, just so people know, about 3 weeks ago, because players are so hard to find. The Oilers, some news has come out now. Again, please remember, looking into does not mean they're doing, or that maybe it can even work out. But they're always scouting. That every team does this. But the Oilers have had people that are looking into contracts for 2 Russian players. So Emerson, so his name is Zdeniel Emerson, and Maxim Shabanov of the KHL. This year, they're doing exceptionally well right now. So if you want, I will actually go put them in. I'll post them on my X specifically, and then you can go check out some of their numbers if you want to go over to my feed at REV. But they're both undrafted. But what I'm hearing is the Oilers are trying to see if there's a way that they could potentially sign both these players and bring them over at the conclusion of this KHL season, because they're done their contracts at that period. So looking into both, I don't know if that means one of them, they're just looking for one, or would they entertain both? But I think the idea would be they would be depth, and they would not be sent down to the AHL should that happen. So obviously maybe this is a wait and see, but anyway, it's a little bit more about depth for the Oilers.
Awesome. And we'll get through a few things before we finish off with hockey history, which we like to kind of get to. It looks like Nashville finally won their first game, and it was against the Boston Bruins. Now, prior to that, Boston had lost another game, and there was a bit of an altercation, kind of a hand slap with Jim Montgomery, head coach, and Brad Marchand. People kind of, pointed at it, especially since the camera caught it. So good on the cameraman for doing it. Your thoughts on a coach of course you can remount a player, but when there's a bit of physical touch in himself, and what does Boston do moving forward, Evan, here? Because it seems like people thought Boston's still competitive, but they're kind of struggling right now. And again, it's early. What are you making of the Bruins and just that altercation?
I think this comes back, if you guys missed it, Perry Pearn, former assistant coach with, I think, over 14 seasons NHL. He was just on, and we were kind of talking about what do you do with the team when they're in a rut, when they're struggling. I think this is the same. I think you got to stay consistent. You got to find what you can to get them out of that rut, to get them focused, and to quiet everything from the outside noise. I'm going to agree with Perry, since he's the pro on the inside.
He knows what's up.
Yeah, exactly, and work with. I think that those guys are mature enough. The Oilers had some of their own stuff early on last year. And right now, a lot of the top veterans and like superstar players, some of them are struggling. And it's a part, I think, in the nature of the game, man. So
awesome. And before we get to the final topic, and I'll let you finish off, I just wanted to shout out the Winnipeg Jets for being the only team left that's undefeated, 6-0-0 so far in the season. I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but good on that team for really playing to their potential. I made a joke on Twitter /X that they're going to go 82-0 just to prove the May haters, only to be told by someone who says they're going to go 0-4 in the playoffs then. But I mean, you got to enjoy it for that city. You got to like what Cole Perfetti has really brought to that team. That team is really chugging along. So I applaud it, because who thought Winnipeg would be as good as they are, right? We knew that they were solid, but this good, I mean, good for them. Oh, except for Evan. Evan knows everything. So yeah.
Well, maybe I lost
around the ring, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that sounds really good, man. That's exactly I was going. And I just want to make mention. I know the Oilers were looking earlier. There was two other teams that I was told that actually Pittsburgh had thought about relooking again, but they didn't. And Washington was considering it, but Justin Schultz ended up, guys, in the Swiss League with Lugano Hockey Club. So he's signed for the rest of the continuation of the Swiss League year over there. So he obviously at 34 years old and wants to keep playing. I could see him still having one more shot at it next year to see if he can get in. So that's why he's trying to give it a shot. So we'll see how it goes. You never know injuries, though, right? You get out of contract, and then maybe you're able to get in before the trade deadline. So guys, we're going to leave around the rink this week. Nothing is going to be so important. We got to hit it this week. We got lots to cover. We'll cover that on the front end after we get through the first section. So why don't we go over to hockey history, guys, and kind of get you guys all started here. Sorry, one sec here. Just kind of move. My screen's all messed up. Can you throw it up for me?
What are we looking at here?
Okay, no, I got it. Okay, let's go into hockey history.
The Kalkaska Battlers presents Hockey History. Catch the Kalkaska Battlers as they compete in the APHL. Check the skills, speed, heart. Make sure you catch a game and experience the thrill of live hockey. Go Battlers.
Okay, so in hockey history today, I want to take you guys back to 1980, and I want to talk to you about one of the favorite fights that you can have of all time, and that's the goalie fight. Now, I have no idea how a goalie gets into a fight with another goalie when they're down at the far ends of the arena, other than purposely calling out the other goalie, even though he's done nothing wrong most often. It's like he says, come on, you and me, buddy. Only a few goalies go at it with actual skaters. Well, in 1980, goalie Glenn Hanlon with the Vancouver Canucks at that time, and that was the old V. Some of you guys thought they were the ugly yellow gold jerseys wearing the old V. Well, he got into a goalie fight against Phil Meir. Okay, Phil Meir of the Philadelphia Flyers at that time. Now, Phil was not a fighter, so I guess Phil just kind of accommodating. And by the way, you might not have known this, but Glenn Hanlon was a fiery redhead. So it just goes to show you guys that they're redheads. It is true. But anyway, the Flyers won that game 7-3, even though Hanlon just laid out Phil Meir. One of the funny things that had happened, Howie Meeker was calling that game. We're talking about Howie Draper. Well, let's go back to Howie Meeker. He was calling that game, and he yelled out, Pavel, he says, somebody's going to get killed out there. Which, I mean, it was all-out brawls in those days, especially 1980. So anyway, just to kind of give you an idea on Glenn Hanlon, I guess there was one when he was with the New York Rangers, a Philadelphia fan, had a Smurf doll down in front of him, just kind of laying it out as he was walking onto the ice. And Glenn Hanlon, with his goalie stick, knocked it out of his hand, and then the kid flipped him, the bird. If you guys don't know what that is, that's the middle finger. So anyway, you gotta love hockey history.
The Kalkaska Battlers presents Hockey History. Catch the Kalkaska Battlers as they compete in the APHL. Check the skills, speed, heart. Make sure you catch a game and experience the thrill of live hockey. Go Battlers.
That was a great story, Evan. Thank you for sharing. And once again, we have gone quite over time, but of course, there is so much hockey news to cover. There is so much to share. So make sure you tune in next Wednesday at 7 p.m. where we talk all things hockey. We've got articles happening all the time now. You can go on our website at twoguysinhockeytalk.com where we have a list of all our former guests and any upcoming guests that are going to be coming up. We're going to be getting them up there. We've got things all about the Boston Bruins, Nashville Predators, everything around the rink. And we love hearing from you, especially tonight. We appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. Evan will kind of allude to where you guys are coming from, but there's been some very lively and respectful dialogue. There's a little bit of banter, and that's okay. We love it. So long as you're respectful, I'm okay with it, right? We don't need to get into name calling. I only get to name call Evan, right? For not knowing how to pronounce any names. But we've appreciated you guys tuning in again with us. It's been a ring-a-ding-dandy. Thank you for Perry Pearn for being on the show. That was great for him to make some time, especially since he's on the other side of the world. I wonder if he's going to have to translate for the rest of those who are watching there for his team to what we're saying, or if YouTube can do that for us. But yeah, you can find Evan at RevNev on Twitter /X. I think nobody calls it X except for Evan and Elon Musk. And you can find me at hockey_2. We are always there. We are always chatting. We are on Facebook at Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe so you get the latest content. Evan, any final thoughts before we finish up?
Yeah, no, it's been another great show. Wish we could get more stuff out to you. I just so you guys realize, we talk hockey content. I figured it out, Pavel. We cover about 50 hours of hockey, straight talk hockey, throughout a season, in every season approximately. So sometimes our wives are like, "How do you keep talking?" You know, it's just like, well, you know, it's pretty easy when I got Pavel on the other end. He won't stop talking. No, I'm just joking.
What did my wife say? My wife says, oh, all you do is talk hockey.
And then as your son grows up, right, you know, it's just like, what will he be doing? He may not like hockey, but dad's on the show. He'll be hockey.
You know what? Just to spite me, he's going to go play like baseball or football or soccer and be like, you know what, Dad, hockey sucks. I don't want to watch this.
And he's going to take a soccer. He's going to kick it into your screen during the game, during the show. Much. Yeah, so it's so guys, thanks for joining in. We've been generally going 5 to 10 minutes over every week. So I think I'm going to throw a segment called Two Guys in Overtime, just so you guys can know we're going into our overtime hours. You can leave us if you want. But yeah, please subscribe to us on YouTube, like the channel. One of the things that helps us is getting the word out there for everyone. It helps us with our guests. It helps us do our stuff. Read the articles. Go to Facebook. By the way, on our Facebook page and our X feeds, you guys, so if you go to hockey_2 or at RevNev, what you will find is a lot of the stuff we do cover, we do talk about there, but there's way more stuff we cannot talk about on the show that is in place there, as well as all the articles that you can be able to read. So as you said, in the famous words of Ed Whalen, it's been a ring-a-ding-dong dandy. But as every week, we go off with our patent signature. In the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks off the ice. Stay safe. Have a good night, everyone. Cheers.